One other legal issue to get to. What happened in late May was the judge presiding over Jim Trotter's case against the NFL and NFL media was resolved. The motion to dismiss was resolved with just like a one-page order. And the upshot of it, and the NFL won some and lost some, but the NFL wanted to win all of it. The NFL wanted to get rid of the case in its entirety. The NFL lost on the question of whether or not Trotter can proceed with a lawsuit against the league for retaliation for engaging in protected activity under the civil rights laws. Basically, Trotter's argument is he complained about racial inequity in the workplace multiple times. He did it twice at the Super Bowl press conference, back-to-back years. Posed the question to Commissioner Robert Goodell what the hell? It's been a long day. Roger Goodell in that, what the hell? I've never thought of him as Robert. Am I thinking Robert Goulet? I don't know. But again, it's been a long day. Roger Goodell twice faced that question. And you can read the post at PFT, but the bottom line is this. It was refreshing to see common sense prevail. So often when you get in the weeds of what was in this case, a 38-page opinion addressing the arguments, and I've read so many of these things over the years, I get flashbacks. I get PTSD when you just have to really be patient. And I've got the attention span at times of a gnat. So when it's time to sit down and read a 38-page ruling, it's like, good God, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But it takes them so long to get to the point. There's so much of the legal process goes like this. It feels like it's objective, but it's inherently subjective. The whole concept of precedent. When it's time to determine how you're going to rule in a given case, you're guided by decisions made by past courts in similar circumstances. And if it's the same court system, that has a lot more weight. Sometimes it comes from other court systems, other federal circuits, other states, whatever the case may be, but the facts are more similar. So, hey, there's a case from, however many years ago in Montana that had this exact issue, these exact facts, and here's what the judge did. So, maybe I should do that too. That's what it all is. It's like you're faced with a maze and you're trying to figure out how to get out of the maze. So what you're doing is you're looking at examples of other mazes that have been solved in the past, and this is a lot like this maze. I'll do the same thing. Oh no, this is, and the lawyers are arguing, hey, look at this maze, and the others are saying, no, this is the maze you should follow. That's the best example I can come up with, and I just kind of pulled that out of my butt, frankly. Pardon me. That's how it works. So my point is this: it's this maze of these mazes that are carved up and put together to guide the legal analysis. At the end of the day, though, it's just common sense. And for Jim Trotter, it's pretty simple. He had been complaining. And before he confronted the commissioner, Robert Goodell, the second time at the Super Bowl press conference, they had told Trotter they wanted to extend his contract. At some point after he embarrassed the commissioner at the Super Bowl press conference, the mood changed. And all of a sudden, there's no new contract for Jim Trotter. And one last point to anyone out there that would say, all they did was not renew his contract, that still counts as firing him. Because when your contract expires, you either get a new one or you become an at-will employee. And if the employer says, your contract's expiring and we're not going to employ you anymore, they're firing you. You've been fired when your contract expires. Because the expectation is without a contract, we're all at-will employees. So the NFL told him no new contract and pack your stuff and go, which is what he did, and he sued. And look at how long it's taken just to get to this point. So now the case goes forward. There will be discovery. There will be deposition of the commissioner, deposition of others. And this is the challenge in any employment case, because they're never going to admit that someone ordered a code red. They'll never do it. And it's not perjury per se? I don't know. I always wrestled with this because if you're saying the reason you gave is bullcrap and it's a pretext for discrimination, retaliation, or some other improper motive that you'll never admit to, is it really lying? At some level it is, but what happens is they lock into the story, and at times they engineer the story before the person's even fired. So the lie is institutional. The perjury is institutional. By the time you put your hand up and testify under oath, it's kind of like George Costanza's observation when Jerry's getting ready to take a polygraph test on the important question of whether he'd ever watched Melrose Place. It's not a lie if you believe it. By the time the people are testifying, everyone believes it because that's the official version that the company has adopted. But it in and of itself is a lie. That's the argument that will be made by Jim Trotter, and it's been made in many other employment cases, because no one is ever going to get on the witness stand and say, yep, he was a troublemaker. We were really uncomfortable about all these questions he was asking about diversity and equity in the newsroom. We can't have that. You got to have better sense than that if you want to work for us. You can't be embarrassing the commissioner with those questions. Yeah, he had to go. No one's going to say that. So they're going to have some other cockamamie excuse, and that's how it works. This isn't specific to the NFL. You come up with your cockamamie excuse, and you roll the dice and see what happens. And meanwhile, you appeal and you fight and you make it about the plaintiff and not about you. I dealt with that. I don't miss it. I served my time. At times, I really do wonder, am I adding anything to society? Because when I was doing that, there's a certain Robin Hood quality to it. You're fighting for justice for people who don't have a voice, especially employment cases. Injury cases are different because somebody gets rear-ended and it's clearly the fault of the other driver. It's just a matter of making phone calls and putting documents together and convincing the insurance adjuster how much should be paid. When you take on an employment case, when a major company has fired someone and you're pushing back against an army of lawyers and this institutional position that goes against your client, and they come after your client with anything and everything they can dig up about your client, it's a fight. It's exhausting. And that's why I don't miss it. 20 years of it. And I really didn't do that for 20. I did that for about 10. It wears you out quickly. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.